Good morning, second graders. This is your last week of online lessons with the second grade teachers. For our very last math lesson for this year, we have two goals today. Our first goal is I can make my own graph using data from my real life. Remember, data is the numbers and information that you collect that you put on your graph. Our other goal is I can make statements about the data. Okay, we'll talk more about what that means as we go. So one more time, our goals are I can make my own graph using data from my real life, and I can make statements about the data. Okay, so last week we talked a little bit about different graphs. We talked about bar graphs, picture graphs, and we talked about using tallies to record our information. This week, your job is going to be to create your own brand new graph based on something that you see in your real life every day. I'm going to show you just one example, but you could do something totally different. It doesn't have to look like mine. It doesn't have to be about the same thing as mine. Okay? So I know something I've been doing a lot since we have been out of school is going for walks. I bet a lot of you guys have been doing that too. It's a great way to get outside, get some fresh air, and see other people doing stuff. Okay, so when I was thinking about something I do in my everyday life, going for walks, I was thinking about what are some things on my daily walk that I could keep track of or something I could tally. You might be thinking of lots of different things. You could keep track of the different types of animals you see. You could, count dogs, cats, birds, squirrels, see how many of each thing you see. You might keep track of the different colored of cars that you see driving on the road or parked by people's homes when you walk. So you might count gray cars, black cars, red cars, white cars, and see how many you see. Okay, you could also count the people that you see. You could say, I saw this many babies, this many kids, this many grown-ups. There's lots of different types of things that you could count while you're out on a walk. That's just one way you could do it. You could also count things around your home. You might want to count the number or the different types of toys that you have at home. How many stuffies you have, how many toy cars you have, how many Legos you have, and use that as your bar graph idea. Whatever you come up with is awesome. You can do it about anything you are interested in. This is just an opportunity for you to try to create your own bar graph. So the bar graph I'm going to make today is about that first example, seeing different animals when I'm on my walk. Okay, and when I did this to go outside, I took a notepad with me, so like a little piece of paper, so that I could keep track as I went. Okay, and while I was on my walk, I saw dogs, cats, birds, and squirrels. Those are usually the types of animals that I see when I'm out on a walk. Maybe there's different types of animals that you see in your neighborhood. Okay, and so while I was out on my walk, I saw 4 dogs. Okay, I could write it as the number 4 as I go. I could also use tally marks like we've practiced before. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. When I was on my walk, I saw 3 cats. I saw 7 birds. Remember, when we get to 5, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We cross it when we get to 5. And I saw 2 squirrels. All right. So my next job is to make my bar graph. I set it up a little bit so that I'd be ready for our lesson, but to set it up, you just need to draw a big L. I'll also show you a place in your packet where you can work on this too. So If I drew a big L, I know my biggest number is 7. Right now I have it up to 5. Is that tall enough? No, it needs to go all the way up to 7. Okay. So this is the side where I'm going to count. Along the bottom, I'm going to put the labels of the types of things that I saw. So down here, I'm going to write types of animals. Okay. That's my title or my label for that area. You might have chosen something different. You might have said types of animals I see on a walk. I'm just going to leave it like this, just because it's a little shorter for right now. Okay, next I'm going to go ahead and start drawing in my bars. You also, keep in mind, you could do a picture graph if you want to. I'm not going to do that right now just because it takes a little bit longer to draw each thing than it does to draw the big bars. But if you choose to do a picture graph instead, that would be totally fine. Okay, so I'm going to start at the top with dogs. How many dogs did I see? I saw 4. So I'm going to draw my bar up to the number 4. And it's really important to make sure that we put a label on it too. Okay, so now it says dogs. I'm going to go to my next one, which is cats. So how many cats did I see? I saw 3 cats. So I'm going to make my bar go up to the number 3. All right. Next, I'm going to go on to birds. How many birds did I see? Yeah, I saw 7 birds, so that's going to be a much bigger bar. Oops, I also forgot already my label for the blue bar. That way I know what the bars are measuring. So that one is cats. Okay, so we're going on to birds. I saw 7 birds. So remember, I'm imagining that I can draw a straight line from this 7 over to the top of my bar, and that's how I measure it. All right, and I'm going to make sure to put a label on that. What do you think that label will say? Birds. All right, and then my last one is squirrels. How many squirrels did I see? Just 2, so I'm going to draw it up to this number 2 right here. All right. So that's all there is to it. That is how you make a really quick and simple bar graph with information from your real life. Okay, the next part of our goal was I can make statements about the data. So making a statement just means that you are saying something that is true or something that you notice about the data by looking at your graph. So something I notice, I want you to think about what you notice too, is the animal that I saw the most of was birds. Okay, so I'm going to write that down. Normally I'd have some more space down here, but I filled up that space, so I'm just going to write it up here. But if you wanted it to look a little nicer, you could write it on the bottom of your graph. Okay. All right. So my first statement, the animal I saw the most of was birds. That's one statement I could make. Can you think of any other statements or facts I could say about this graph? You might be thinking you could say the animal you saw the least of. You could also name the difference between some of the numbers of animals. So I might say, I saw 5 more birds than squirrels. Okay, because if we go here, we count it the rest of the way up, it would be a difference of 5. Okay, so I'm going to use that as my next statement. Okay, I saw 5 more birds than squirrels. All right, can you think of any other statements we could make about this bar graph? Another one I can think of is the animal I saw the least of was squirrels. All right, so those are 3 different statements that I could make about this graph. You could come up with so many other ones because I didn't even really mention the dogs or the cats. So you could keep making more statements about those things. All right, second graders. So our 2 goals today were I can make my own graph using data from my real life, and I can make statements about that data. We did both of those things in this lesson, and I hope that you guys feel like we did a great job with those goals. I'm going to show you a couple of things in your homework before we end our lesson. So in your homework, you are going to have a picture graph. Okay, this is in the packet of math. So in this picture graph, you see different animals at the zoo. This is a place where it asks you to label the graph and write 3 statements about the data. We remember the labels on the bottom are the names of the things we're counting, and you might want to put a title or a name for your graph. So when you're doing that, your name of your graph goes up here, the title of your animal or the title of the different things you're measuring goes here. Okay, then over here we're going to have 3 statements about our data. So think of things just like we did a second ago that you could say about this data. What animal did we see the most of? What animal did we see the least of? And you could think about, you saw many more of this animal than this animal. Okay, again, your statements are totally up to you. There's lots of different things that you could say. There's not just 3 right answers. All right. Another thing I want to show you is that when you are doing your bar graph or picture graph, this is one way that you could do it. This is from something that we could have done in class if we were all together that is probably in your packet. It says My Data Project. And then it says Design Your Question. What's your favorite? This is meant for if we're in a large group like in class and you could ask your classmates about their favorite things. Since we're not in a big class together, you can come up with a different way to say your question. Instead of favorite, you could say, how many different animals would I see on my walk? Or how many different kinds of toys do I have in my house? Either is fine. If you want to just imagine that you're with the class, you can come up with something that's a favorite and just imagine. But you could also come up with something that's real life, like our goal for this week says, and just forget the what's your favorite part. Okay? So again, you could just make your question say, how many different animals do I see on a walk? Or how many different types of toys do I have at home? All right. If you go to the next page, it also says number of students. You can change that to say anything you want. It doesn't have to say number of students. That would be if we were in class all together and you could ask lots of different students about their ideas. Okay. Last thing I'm going to show you is there will be a link on the homework page for this website where you can make your own bar graphs again. So on this page, you see an example This one is favorite type of movie. So this is kind of like what's in your homework. And you can see the number of people and the type of movie. Okay. On the next page, you can make your own bar graph. So last time I used an example of favorite candy. Remember to put in your labels and to put the numbers of the things that you're counting right here, separated by commas. Okay, that's just another way that you can practice this, especially if you maybe don't have the worksheet page, or maybe you can't find it, or maybe you just want to try it on the computer instead. This is just one way that you can do that so that you are still getting to make a bar graph, but you don't necessarily need paper and pencil to do it. All right, second graders, I know that you guys have been working super, super hard since we've been out of school, and I just want to say I am so proud of all of you. Thank you guys for working so hard each week on our lessons and making sure you're staying on task and resilient, even though school has been really different. I miss you all, and I'm excited to see you keep learning in the summer, keep practicing all of these things we've learned, and keep staying on task. All right, second graders, have a great rest of your week and a wonderful, happy summer.